Hello everybody, peace, welcome to another episode, and today I'm going to be talking about a trend that I have noticed specifically amongst women, not necessarily Muslim women, but the youth, older women, and just women in general, and maybe some males can relate to this as well, but as a female it's just something that I have noticed, and it's this concept of making yourself look or act a certain way that is not what you really are, right? It's the classic people pleasing, it's the masking, it's all of that. So let's dive right in. Bismillah.
From beautiful seeds to flourishing legacies.
So I've noticed this trend, and it's this behavior or this way of looking and this way of being, which is different to what we really are, right? And I'm saying we because it's something that I know I have struggled with many years ago, over a period of many years. And it's this thing where we make ourselves smaller, quote unquote, than we really are, right? So we kind of dim ourselves in some way. And that can look in so many different ways. One of them is trying to look a certain way, right? So it's a contradiction. Is interesting because what happens is we are trying to be a certain way, right, to be more acceptable in society, and sometimes we might change the way we look to do that, and that could happen in many ways. We could wear an abundance of makeup, for example, or we can dress a certain way, and really it's not really a question like of dimming ourselves, and that's why it gets confusing sometimes, but in a way we kind of are dimming ourselves, and I'll explain why. And it's this thing, right? So it's like we dress in a way, basically everything that we're doing is to become acceptable. That's the whole point. And whether that is to dim our the way we look, or illuminate it in some way, or change it in another way, it's still for the same reason of trying to be acceptable or accepted by someone. Now, I know some of you who are listening to this are not going to like this message or what I have to say. I totally get it. If I was listening to this message many years ago, I would feel exactly the same way. But I do feel like someone needs to say something about it, and it's this it's in the interactions, right? So I'll give you an example. I was speaking to someone a little while ago, and I remember speaking to this person before, and they're extremely intelligent. They are so interesting, they are so amazing in so many ways, right? And then recently when I spoke to them, there was this different energy, right? I guess energy is the best way to say it. And the energy was very, it was almost, gosh, how do I say this in a way which isn't mean, right? It was almost like they were trying to appear less intelligent than what they really are, right? They would say things which just didn't feel like I was speaking to the same person, you know, and the way they would talk and the way they would act was kind of like just not what I remember them being, right? And for some reason this just really didn't sit right with me, for a couple of reasons. One of them was that, you know, just the kind of discomfort of talking to someone who is being a way that they are not really, and like I said, we can all fall into this sometimes, and I'm going to talk about what we can do about it if we do find ourselves doing that, because it's not something that you experience and then you never do it again. It's something that we can fall into on a regular occurrence, no matter how healed we are, right? So anyway, which is very uncomfortable. And then as I began to look around, I realized that there are so many women who are so capable and so intelligent and so beautiful, right? Falling into this model of being which is more acceptable, right? And that is really the core of it. And what happens is that it's almost like, to be attractive, whether that is physically attractive or, attractive in a way which you're attracting the opposite gender. I'm talking about like attractive even in friendships, right? It's someone who people want to be drawn to. There is almost this kind of abandonment of certain qualities of the self so we can fit into this model, which is more acceptable, right? It's more palatable. And if you look at a lot of the content that is around today, they do the same thing, right? And this is just a little separate tangent, but it's interesting because it's very related. It's almost making it less complex, less intelligent, less less real, I guess, by trying to offer it to a more wider palette, right? So the problem with that is a few things. One of the biggest problems is that not everyone is going to like you, right? Not everyone is going to be drawn to you. And if you are portraying this image of being a person who looks a certain way or acts a certain way or is a certain way, the people who are drawn to you are going to be people who, when they see you for who you really are, when you're ready to take kind of that mask off, right? Because it is a mask. What happens is they will drop like flies. Like really, they will drop like flies. And this also goes for, if you dress or look a certain way, and it isn't really aligned with who you are, and you're just kind of doing it because you want to be pretty or you want to fit a trend or whatever, and you don't really feel fully aligned or comfortable with it. And then when people see you when you're at home wearing your tracksuits, looking a certain way, they are literally like, whoa, this is not who I thought this person was. And then it's like heartbreak, right? It's like a friend will leave you, or this will happen and that will happen. Now I wanted to actually make a separate video of this, but I'll put it in this video actually. What happens is when you are a person who is more aligned with who you are and you begin to dress a certain way which feels authentic to you, buzzword authentic, right? That's also a trend. I'm talking about aligned with every part of who you are at this time, right? And you can become more and more aligned with yourself in the future. But what happens is when you become more aligned with who you are, what you are interested in, the way you talk, the people who you like to be around, the things that you like to watch, the books that you like to read, the way you like to dress, the things you're interested in just in general, right? Writing, any other hobby, whatever it is, what happens is that the people who were drawn to the washed, I guess what the washed version is, the filtered version of what you presented, they will become almost repelled from you. They will become repelled from you because for a few reasons. Number one, you aren't who they thought you were, right? The mask has come off. You are who you are now, and you're showing it fully and beautifully, right? And truly. And that doesn't mean going full on peacock mode, right? It means just being more aligned with who you are. You don't even have to say a word walking into a room. People can just feel that this person is very themselves, right? It's interesting we even have to even think that far because everyone thinks that we are ourselves, but there's so many other dynamics which are at play, especially when it comes to other people. All this is to say, right, when you're more aligned with yourself and the mask falls off, you will notice that people will begin to disperse from around you. There is almost a distaste. There is almost a disappointment. And some people will actually get really mean. They will try to kind of pull you back to who they thought that you were or they wanted you to be. And all of this is at the cost of believing this image that you gave to them, which isn't who you really are, right? So now this way that society is becoming, the way that women specifically are becoming. Now let's talk about women specifically. We have a history, especially as Muslim women and just women in this country, in the West, wherever you are, we have a history of having a very ambivalent relationship with the opposite gender. At one stage in history, there was men who claimed that women didn't even have souls. This is not religiously context. This is actually socially context. So then came an uprising of women who fought back. And these were the feminists, and they fought back for their rights. And then it went to another extreme where they claim, like some people claim that they are fully equal to men and they should be treated like men. There's biological differences. Equity is different to justice. Equity is different to equality. Equity is justice, etc. Right? We don't need to go into that. Maybe I'll make another video about that. But one other thing which has remained a constant and a consistent in women being delivering themselves a certain way is this way that they think they should be around other people. There is this beauty, right? They are supposed to look a certain way. And then the problem with that, right? Looking a certain way means beautiful, you know, the long eyelashes, all of that. There's nothing wrong with looking beautiful, right? But when we do it because we are trying to be accepted by somebody else, because we think that they want us to look like that, and hence they will not abandon us, right? It's the deep abandonment wound, which is really the core of all of our issues. What happens is this is what happened to me. I can only talk from my experience. What happened to me was that I would dress a certain way because I didn't want I didn't want to offend someone by not dressing in a certain way. It's so bizarre, right? And I think this is many years ago. And at that time, if you've seen a video I recorded, it's called Scars. It's about the scars that we have on our bodies and our faces and how important they are and the purpose they are there as well. But I would make prayers that I could walk down the street with no makeup on, right? And this is not a question of makeup, not makeup. You get it, right? So what happens is we think we should look a certain way. We think we should look a certain way because that is how a woman should present herself, right? And that way, what ends up happening is we become misaligned with what really makes us feel like ourselves, right? So, for example, if you don't have the long hair, if you don't have the long eyelashes, if you don't have the structured face, if you don't have the way of dressing, the body weight and all of that, then instantly you are seen as undesirable, you are seen as lesser, you are seen as unacceptable. And this way of seeing the world and putting value on a person because of the way they look is so dangerous, because we are all going to lose our looks, right? We are all going to lose our looks. It's an inevitable promise. And that is why people who have all their life been seen as someone who is very beautiful, when they reach the age of older age, inevitably they grow older, the wrinkles come and the hair goes gray and all of that, they cling even harder to looking a certain way. You'll see them get Botox, you'll see them get face jobs done, you'll see them dress a certain way, which feels like, whoa, that what's going on, you know? Because they're desperately holding on to the image that they have created an identity for themselves with, right? And that's what the core of this all is. That's on one side. And then on the other side, what I see women doing is, here, I'm just going to say it, dumbing ourselves down. Because the more assertive that we are, the more masculine that we feel, and we are afraid of offending men or other women, because we feel like, if, you know, I'm going to end up like scaring everyone away. I don't want to be that aggressive, like, you know, unattractive person who is opinionated and all of that, right? When in reality, that's not how it is at all. It's not how it is. It's just in our heads. And the people who are offended by you having an opinion, right, which is different to theirs, or you being assertive in certain things, like knowing that I really like to write. For example, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this and I'm going to make sure that I stick to the schedule so I can do this because it's important to me. And then feeling like you're going to offend someone because you're doing that, then the only person who ends up being hurt is ourselves. Because what happens is that through the process of trying to become more acceptable, to belong, we feel like we have to abandon ourselves. So what is the solution, right? What is the solution? first and foremost, if you find yourself falling into this behavior, and I'm saying that it doesn't matter how healed you are, at times when we are around certain people, we can be triggered into this reaction. We can become the kind of like the kind of submissive, kind of shy person, right? And it's inauthentic, right? You can still be respectful to someone without cowering and being completely like in silent mode, right? We can still be respectful to people. If it's, I'm talking about our elders, I fully believe that we should be respectful to our elders. They have a different way of seeing things to us. They have lived a different life, so there is a different way we behave with them, right? And that is a respect. But when it comes to becoming almost nothing and being treated a certain way because we feel like if we don't, we are not going to be accepted, and trying to manage everyone's emotions to make us see us in a certain way, it only hurts us in the end, and it isn't something that comes without harm. And what happens is that after a period of time, after years, some of us act like this, what happens is we get sick. Some of us get more severely sick. Other people get more chronic pains that we have no idea where it came from. But we get sick, right? Because our body wants to be itself. It wants to be most aligned with what is good for itself. And that isn't always changing who we are. It isn't really ever changing who we are so we can be more acceptable to someone else, right? So there's a cost. There's a cost to changing ourselves to be more palatable for people. The second thing also is that people, whether you become palatable for them or not, are gonna like you or not like you. Doesn't matter how much you change yourself. So rather than having this big kind of like everyone loving you, right? And being more kind of I guess more kind of like an acquired taste, you can say, being more yourself, right, will bring people to you who are aligned with you, and they will come to you. And you might have to be alone for a period of time because you've created a network of people around you who thought you were something else, and it's not their fault, and it's something that we can definitely work on. But then we begin to change the relationships with these people, and it's so difficult because being this way, which is acceptable in society as a woman, is something that is it's a way of, it's an identity. It can become an identity, and it is so hard to move away from this identity because it's not really who we are, and we forget who we are. And that is why when we act like this, we are exhausted after being around certain people, because we know it wasn't real. We know that the people we're around, the people, they may look a certain way, they may be a part of a certain status, they may be interested in what you have to say, but really they don't know you. They don't know you. There was no real connection made. And that vulnerability that you show to them about, oh my gosh, I felt like this and this happened, and it's real, but it's selective, and it's not really real as to who you are right now and what you need, because instinctively you know that the community and the network that we have surrounded ourselves by, they will abandon us, which is the core wound here. We are afraid of abandoning, so we become inauthentic and misaligned with who we really are, and we're afraid of them abandoning us if we say what we really think and the way we really feel at that time. And the way that you'll know if you are being inauthentic or not being who you really are or anything is because you will begin to, this is what happens, we will begin to resent them, the people who we are changing ourselves for. We will resent them. And I experienced this with someone actually, and it was interesting because it was like a mirror of myself from many years ago. And what happened was I was having this conversation with someone, and literally it felt like I was talking to a mask. There was no kind of depth. There was just like polite answers. And I remember like being kind of like repelled by it because I felt I can't really connect with this person. And before I would try to, but what happened was there was always this block, and I kept trying to overcome the block because I saw the potential, right? But if a person isn't ready to accept who they are, what their potential is, it doesn't matter how much you try to overcome the block that they have created. If they're not ready, it will not move. So just meet them where they are, meet them where they are, meet them where they are, right? And that's what I did with this person. I met her where she was, and what happened was, like, she did something to anyway, something happened, an accident happened. She ended up whacking me, right? It was like an accident. But what tends to happen is, when there are a lot of accidents that happen, especially when you're a person who's been through trauma, these accidents are an anger towards the one who is hurt, or the one, or yourself, right? You have a lot of accidents hitting yourself because there's a kind of anger towards yourself, and it comes out in so many ways. And I could tell that as well with a few people who it's really a mask, and yeah, it's just so interesting. So I know that I gave you so much information in this video, and I definitely ask you to select which one stands out to you the most, and there are a lot of things that have been said, so please do share your opinions. I would love to hear it from you. If you're a woman who is experiencing this, or someone who you know is experiencing this kind of changing who we are, and we'd never admit it to ourselves, right? I'll be completely honest, we would not admit it to ourselves. Even I don't sometimes, when I fall into these behaviors around certain people, because it's distasteful. We don't want to be like, no, I really am like this. I really am like this. But then a small part of us, when we accept, like, you know, the truth, that is like, okay, I am changing myself a little bit and it doesn't feel good. And that's why I'm always exhausted after going to this place. Right? So anyway, leave a comment. There's a lot being said, and I would love to hear from you. And I also have a free downloadable for you from my book, The Woke Writer. It is all about letting go. It's so relevant to what we're talking about today. And you will be added to my newsletter, God willing. And then I have some amazing things for you, which are coming up too. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Have a beautiful and blessed day, everyone. Peace.